Hello and welcome to SEGA News Bits Extra. I'm Barry, with me is George.
Hello everybody.
And we are going to be talking about SEGA Fest 2018. Now it happened, about a little over a week ago, but
yeah.
George wasn't with us and a lot of new information has broke since then. So this is your SEGA News Bits Extra for Monday, April 23rd. So let's kick it off by talking about SEGA Ages coming to the Nintendo Switch this summer. So this was it was a presentation given by, I want to get his name right. It's SEGA CEO Haruki Satomi.
Yep.
And he came. So we knew this event was coming for a while, but then like the day before, SEGA Europe and SEGA America are like, okay, you should watch this. You should watch this. And what did you think about the planning behind that? Was it nice and?
What do you mean, like the planning behind that? The whole like having the SEGA festival?
I think, yeah, like how kind of last minute they all of a sudden were like, hey, if you're not Japanese, you should watch this still.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, right? Because like they've been hyping it on the Japanese SEGA Twitter account for like months, and like the US side never said anything. I kind of wish they would have teamed up and like done a translation stream on the official channel with all the events and stuff and done like actual coverage of it. But I mean, I guess it was worth it, I think.
Yeah, the event's young. I think in future years what they should do is have an English stream and hire someone who can type up a translation in the bottom, you know?
Yeah.
But
I agree.
Yeah, so the first thing he went out and he held up 4 fingers, and so I assumed he was going to talk about 4 things. SEGA Ages was the first thing. Now, we did a video, or I did a video on this on the YouTube channel, and it's essentially 3D classics for the Switch. George, were you expecting this, and is it what you want from them?
I think there's this like really weird thing going on right now where we have the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive Classics, where it's like 55 games for like $30. Mm-hmm. That's crazy amount of games. I know they're just emulated and these are going to be different, but at the same time, you know, Switch owners kind of feel like they're getting ripped off or short end of the deal, because a lot of people just want to play the old games. They don't really care if it's emulated. I mean, Nintendo had their games emulated. They're well emulated, but they were emulated versions and they paid for it. They don't care. But the fact that other console owners are getting like a bundle and then they're gonna have to pay per piece is kind of weird, don't you think?
That's a good point. I mean, the Switch versions, the SEGA Ages stuff, is going to be like top tier emulation. So there is a trade-off there. There are some bonuses, and it's not just Genesis. Like as we're seeing here, it's it's kicking off with 2 Genesis games and Phantasy Star, and then we're also going to get Gain Ground, which is arcade, and Alex Kidd, which is Master System again. So
out of those ones you just read, which ones are you looking forward to, and which one do you think are kind of like lame and they shouldn't have been added?
I would say least looking forward to is Sonic, just because we've seen it so many times. They did add the Mega Play version, which is like the arcade version of Sonic 1, which is basically, I think, the item boxes are different, and so I'm not really looking forward to that. And Alex Kidd as well. I don't think I'm not too enthused about that. The ones I like the most is Gain Ground, because it's the arcade version and you can play it vertically on the Switch, which is really cool. Thunder Force 4 I'm looking forward to because of the extras, and also because it's a game. They haven't released this yet, have they?
Not since they bought the company out. No, I don't think they have.
And then I think Phantasy Star, just for the portability factor, and it's going to have, they confirmed all of the bonus features as the PS2 re-release.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good list. I would have to agree with you. Sonic, we played it a lot. Alex Kidd is one of those weird ones where it's like, I didn't think they were going to bring back Alex Kidd, and I know there's people online that really want a new Alex Kidd game, so I think it's cool that they get something on Switch with some extras, hopefully. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm looking forward to Thunder Force 4 the most.
So what do you think could make SEGA Ages better moving forward? Like, what kind of games would you want to see?
I want them to see, like, I want them to hit the Sega Saturn. I think everybody online would be like crazy if they did like a Shining 3 port, or especially for the Switch, or maybe like a Panzer Dragoon.
Yeah.
Like, they have so many games on there that like people have been wanting to have ported over, like those rail shooters, Daytona USA, stuff like that. That would be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say I'd like to see them release all of the AM2 Superscaler games. That would be great. I know 3D Classics did it, but they're like, you gotta get those out there. So you might as well do them early instead of holding off until the very end. Because I think Power Drift I'd really like to see, because they added more options to it in the boxed release in Japan for 3D Classics that we missed out here in the West. So, and also I think there are a few other 3D Classics games that never got released in the West. So I'd like to see them release those as part of Sega Ages to make up for it, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's a good news for Switch owners. I guess it's not ideal for some Switch owners. I know there's a lot of people out there that would rather have a collection physically, especially for these old type games. But I don't know, it's kind of weird, right? Now they can't release the Mega Drive Sega Genesis Classics because people would just buy that and not buy these separately.
Yeah, they're competing with themselves. And speaking of compilations and collections, another announcement was that there's going to be a Sega Mega Drive Mini. And Satomi brought it out. He was holding it in his hands. And people were, I think some people were freaking out over this. Some people were like, oh, it better not be At Games. And then, surprise, surprise, At Games came out and said, yeah, this contains the latest At Games technology, and it's going to, they didn't expand on that. And then they said it's going to be releasing to the West, and isn't that exciting? And then I think a day later, they deleted their tweet and they deleted their Facebook account. So
I guess feedback wasn't that good.
Yeah, what did you think about this whole announcement and then kind of the fallout?
I thought it was pretty interesting that people were hyping this as Sega coming back to the hardware business, even though we already know that that's not going to happen. And technically, they are in the hardware business if you consider arcades hardware.
Yeah.
But this mini thing, I already knew it was going to be something stupid, like, because I mean they had that interview right before this event where they said they're thinking about bringing the At Games style Sega Genesis consoles over to the Japan market.
Yeah.
And when they announced it, I was like, great, this is going to be an At Games creation. And then all of a sudden, everybody got hyped up about it online, saying that, no, this is going to be Sega making it. And then, bam, it was At Games.
Yeah, and there was a bit of shade thrown at us, and particularly me, because I was a few weeks ago banging that drum that Sega is not returning to the hardware market. Stop posting those news stories. And then when this hit, people go, aha, Barry's wrong. And then an hour later, At Games is like, oh, it's an At Games. So, who's wrong? I don't know. But the way I look at this is that I'm going to hold out hope that it's going to be good. I think, given that At Games said it was going to be the latest technology, and the fact that the CEO himself comes out holding it, means that they have that A, it's going to be different, and B, that Sega of Japan has a little more, I'm trying to think of the word, they have a little more trust in it. And so maybe they were like keeping At Games on an NDA, because remember, At Games is a Taiwanese company, and they have an American presence or a Western presence. And so my guess is the people in the West weren't told by the people in Taiwan or in Asia that the contract had an NDA that you're not supposed to say that it's At Games, because my guess is that Sega of Japan wanted to claim full responsibility for this.
It could happen. You never know with these kind of companies what's going on behind the scenes. I'm gonna stay open-minded about it, but obviously my expectations for the device have been whimpered, because At Games has been pretty terrible for close to a decade. They've been doing this, and people have complained online and they've been ignoring it. Like you said, they just deleted their social media accounts for no reason, just because maybe, I don't know what it is, maybe feedback is too much for them. But I'm hoping that it's good, but I'm not surprised if it's not. That's all.
Right. Yeah. Well, hopefully it pans out, but right now I guess it's just wait and see. Really, the big thing is they just need to show us that it works. If they just came out at E3 and said, here it is, give it a play, and all these people are saying, oh, it sounds great, then it's done. You know, like, we don't have to complain about it anymore.
Exactly.
So, all right, so here's the big one. They did a countdown of the 20 games, or the 20 most popular franchises. This was a social media thing they did a while ago, and they were counting down, and then when they got to Shenmue, it went dark and a trailer played, and the announcement was that Shenmue 1 and 2 are coming to PS4, and then we later learned Xbox One and PC as well. And the a British guy who was, I don't know, like, SEGA Europe doesn't talk to us, so we don't really know who this guy is, took the stage, and he was dressed as Ryo. What'd you think about this announcement?
I think I already knew it was happening. I thought it was going to happen last year, but apparently they delayed it till this year. But this is obviously something that SEGA Europe has been teasing about for like a year and a half that they've been working on. So I'm happy that they finally got announced, and it wasn't just something that got like swept under the rug. I think it's very important to have these type of games come back to modern consoles. But like you said in one of your posts you created, are new gamers really going to kind of understand what made Shenmue so good for its time period, right? Because like a lot of the technology that it was using is very like, I guess, been perfected over the last 15 years, 20 years. So I don't know. I'm hoping that people really appreciate it, but I don't know. I don't think they will. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think a lot of new gamers are very like, I don't know. It's like us going like back all the way down to like a 1970s arcade game. It's like, why would I play this when I could play Hang On? That was way better in the mid 80s, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways that you can go about playing retro games. I mean, I'm not calling Shenmue a retro game, but yeah, I would say it's a classic. You know, you see people playing something like Atari Adventure, and it's just like a little dot moving around, and people go, oh wow, I could see how revolutionary this is. And so I'm hoping people will play Shenmue 1 and 2 and see, and have some sort of context in their mind that, you know, this is not a remake, which is good. I don't want a remake of Shenmue 1 and 2. I want the game as I remembered it. I don't want them to be like, there's no more load times, you can fight anyone anywhere, you can skip, you can time skip whenever you want in the first game. We've completely revamped the cat AI system, so you can now raise it, and you know, like all this shit. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I agree with you. What do you think about SEGA taking literally like 20 fucking years to bring Shenmue 3 and Shenmue 1 and 2?
I mean, it's about time. I'll be honest, I was thinking that after we didn't see it on the 360 and the PS3 that was it. Like, we were not going to see a remaster of these games. And
SEGA surprised us.
Yeah, and it's smart they're doing it too, because this is future-proofing Shenmue. This is not just a PS4 and Xbox One and PC release. This means that they're going to have a version that they can release. I mean, the PC one's like evergreen. Like, that can, 10 years out, I'm sure will still be playable. Whereas, you know, with the other two, you know, if we get PS5 and Xbox 2, those will be backwards compatible or something. So they can now make money off of a game that they really stopped making money off of in like 2001.
Yeah, and they also sunk a lot of money in trying to... A lot of people don't understand this, right? Like, SEGA actually tried to bring the franchise back a couple times. They had that bad choices, though, like the MMO and the mobile game, but I guess now they're finally sticking to their actual fan base, the console people, so very happy about this, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And now I'm kind of thinking, like, is the packaging going to match Shenmue 3? Is there going to be some sort of save state that carries over? The Shenmue 3 team, though, seemed to be completely disconnected from this, and they said they can't confirm anything about a save state carrying over, though I think they'd be foolish not to reach out to SEGA and get something.
I agree.
I know that you can't carry over the like SEGA figurines because of copyright reasons to 3. At least that's my assumption. So at the very least, you know, like if you have, you know, that the photos, you know, and if you have the white leaf, like things like that should carry over.
Of course it should. But I was gonna say that's
Yeah.
another thing that sucks, right? Like a lot of people don't understand that it's not just a Yu Suzuki game; it's a SEGA game. Like Shenmue 1 and 2 were 100% SEGA in-house created. Like everything about it from the ground up is like the music was built by like 20 people, and it's ridiculousness. So we'll see how Shenmue 3 stacks up, but it's nice to have 1 and 2 on new hardware.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I'm kind of guessing that 1 and 2 are going to look dated but play great, and 3 is going to look great but not play as well. I mean, I hope they prove me wrong, but I can't imagine them having a fighting system that's as good as 1 and 2 in the third game.
Yeah, me neither, but I want to stay hopeful for them.
Same here. And then the last bit of news, this is a Patreon exclusive because we didn't do a YouTube video for this. Haruki Satomi announced that Sakura Taisen is coming back. They're working on a game called Shin Sakura Taisen. He carried a little pink banner. And George, what do you know about this this franchise?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I wasn't one of those people that played this game. I know there's translations online. I've tried it in Japanese a long time ago because like there used to be a shop here in town that would used to sell like Sega Saturn Japanese games really cheap, and I would just buy them because it's like $5, man. And these things are from Japan, and that's kind of when you're a kid, that's ridiculous. That's like crazy. Like this traveled from the other side of the world. So one of those games I owned was Shin Megami. I mean, not Shin Megami, but a Sakura Wars game. And I played it. I mean, I understand why people like it. It's supposed to be a game where you it's a SRPG with some relationship elements into it, kind of like what Persona is now. But, so I can see why a lot of people like it. I'm glad that it's coming back. I know it was really popular in Japan, and I hope if Sega of America and Sega Europe see 1 second of this video that they actually bring it over. I mean, Atlas brings over some really weird games. Like they bring over like a ton of games that people never even heard of, like Rock of Ages they publish and little ass titles. So I think bringing this over would be pretty cool to see how it does. It could maybe even sell as well as Persona. You never know with the American audience. I was gonna say, what do you think about this franchise?
I've played the, I believe the 5th game, which did get a Western release. I didn't play a lot of it, but I played a good, like, 5-6 hours of it, and I was really impressed. Like, it's not my kind of series, but you know you're playing a good game from, like, if you're playing a franchise or a genre that you have no, you know, experience in, but you know when you're playing one of the best games in that genre. That's what this was like, because I was like, man, like, it's so solid. Like the gameplay was really tight. I was engaged. It was fun. It was interesting. It was entertaining. It's not something I'd seek out, but I would love it if they brought this west. It's just a shame that we have 4 games that have never gotten a Western release. And to be honest, I know they're making, I guess this would be the 6th game. It would be really cool if they brought 1 through 4 back in the same way that we're getting the Yakuza Kiwami games. Maybe do Sakura Taisen Kiwami or something like that.
And did you expect this franchise to come back? I know there was a poll a while back where this one was one of the top 3 Japanese favorite games. Obviously, we thought it was weird because we're from America, so this would never win in America. Do you think they made the right choice bringing this back and not something like maybe more worldwide focused, like Jet Set Radio or maybe even Space Channel 5?
I think Jet Set Radio would have been a wiser move. I think it probably would have sold more copies, but I can understand why they're doing this. I think there are a lot of people internally at Sega who still love Sakura Taisen and want to make more games. And I also think it falls in line with, I mean, this is, when you were talking, you kind of slipped and said Shin Megami Taisen, right? Or Tensei.
Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah. And this is kind of like Sega's version of that, or at least, you know, this is their kind of franchise that has a similar fan base, I'd think. And so it makes sense that they'd be reviving this and maybe making it an ongoing series, especially when Yakuza's not not on its way out, but it's definitely changing. And I think it's wise to bring this in because, you know, if Yakuza does take a break after the next game, or if it just doesn't have a good reception, at the very least they're going to have Sakura Taisen going on. So I'm looking forward to this, but it wouldn't be the franchise I'd pick to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're never going to pick this because it's not part of our, I guess we could say nostalgia, right? Because like at this moment, if they bring something like Knights back, there would be a lot of people in America nostalgic about it. So for us, it's not going to be nostalgic because it was never a popular franchise in the West. This is a very Japanese-centric announcement, which I kind of miss from Sega if you think about it. Because like I feel like for, I don't know, since like maybe 2005-ish, 6-ish, like after they released Outrun and like 2 and they released Virtua Fighter 5, like right after that, like 2007, 2008, they really started pushing Western games. Like they had Iron Man, they had all the Marvel games, they had all these like tie-in games that were terrible. And I always thought like, man, Sega's never going to go back and never going to be Japanese again. And then now they're really pushing Yakuza games. Now they're really pushing, obviously, a Sakura Wars game, which is crazy. And I'm happy. Yeah. I'm pretty much happy with where they're going.
Me too.
And I think that's a good way to close up this episode of the Sega News Bits Extra. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Next week, we'll probably have a bigger list of stuff to talk about. And I hope you guys join us next week. See you guys.
Bye.